I'll call this Monday, July 14th, 2025 meeting of the Grafton Planning Board to order. All of our members are present, so we don't have to do a roll call for Zoom. First item on the agenda is public input. This is where anyone who wants to talk to us about something within our purview that is not otherwise on the agenda, this is your opportunity. Raise your hand. Let me know either online or in here. Apparently no one. Bond amount approval, engineers, opinion, construction cost estimates, Graves, the Ridings, 88 Adams Road. We have a bunch of paperwork and whatnot. And basically, I think our engineer says use the estimate that we've got.
Yes. Yep. More or less. We just wanted to make sure that we were checking with Graves in case costs had changed since the original estimate in 2023. And I know Steve's here.
Good evening.
Name, rank, and serial number.
Yes, you're going to get it. Steve Benincasa from the Ridings in Grafton. Your formula of 20% of the cost of the total thing. I don't know if that's. I work in a lot of different towns. You know, the only town that does it that way. It's like I don't get credit for the work that I do up there. If I put all the sidewalks in and all the berms in and all the bounds in and the street trees and the signs, which I like to do. I know you have some developers, they like to do the minimum. I like to do the maximum. And I do it for two reasons. One, I selfishly like to let my project look as nice as it possibly can. Helps me with my marketing. But also, it helps me at the far end, I don't have this giant punch list I have to do. I mean, I used to do it the other way when I first started, and I like doing it this way better. So the fact that I do all this work up front, and with your board, I don't get any credit for it. And so I'd like to get credit for it, because when I do the work, Jeff does the whole road and then takes 20% of that. Now, I understand that's your system. I understand that's what you do with other developers. I just find that not quite, I don't get credit for the work I do, and I'd like you to.
We do reductions along the way. In the major amount, you know, you built 50% and you got 50%. The 20% came in quite a long while ago when we had one or two developments go belly up, and because of inflation and whatnot, there wasn't enough money to finish them. So at that point, I think we put in some extra.
I understand that. I have a counter that never finished a subdivision, and I've been working 49 years and always have finished my subdivisions.
But we have, you know, we make a rule.
I know that too also, sir. I know that. So, so you're saying that you would consider doing a bond reduction down the road?
We do that. That's part of the process. I don't know how often or what triggers. All I know is that every once in a while we get a bond reduction request, and the engineer, and you know, they do the numbers, and
Yes.
and we usually are, you know.
But from what I understand, let's say the whole road gonna cost $2 million. You hold 20%, which is $400,000. And no matter how much work I do on that road, you're not going to reduce it down below $400,000. I could have $80,000 left for a top coat, and you're still holding the $400,000 bond. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, how would you?
No, that's the rule.
Yeah. So if I do the work and I complete the road, I can come before the board and ask for a reduction.
She can talk you through exactly
Yeah.
what happens, but, yeah, you come in and you say, I've done some of the work, let's bring it down, basically.
Okay.
And, the engineer has to look at what you did and, take it off of the, all this stuff,
Okay.
okay?
If I may, just the contingency is held just in the event that the town would need to reclaim some of the money to finish.
Absolutely. I understand completely why you do what you do. I understand that, yes. And I understand why you need to put a margin on there too. I get that. You're not gonna do the work for the same price.
That's right, our costs are higher,
I understand.
and,
I understand.
we had a big subdivision where the developer just went away. There was a lot involved in getting it finished down in south.
And we all pay a price for those. You guys pay a price and then I pay a price down the road, right? Every other developer down the road.
Okay,
One other item. When we submit the subdivision, we come in with a whole bunch of plans, but one of the plans we come in with is a landscaping plan with tree plantings on it. And so it's kind of just a generic, the landscape architect just puts trees I think it's every 40 feet. In Westboro, there's a rule in their bylaws, which you don't have, that if there's a tree within, I'm going to say it's 25 feet. I know exactly. I should have known. I should have come in with that number. But it's within so many feet of the edge of the road, then you admit the tree. In other words, if we don't clear like half of the road, the right-hand side of Liberty, there's no lots on that side. So the trees are right close to the edge. So there's really not, and we could put a tree there, but it's real close to the road in order to get any bang at all. If I come in with a plan showing those tree line there, would you consider?
well, we'll look at it. She's gonna know a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I think, I gather the idea is that if there are existing trees
Right.
fairly close to where the street trees would be, do the existing trees serve the purpose that the street trees would have served otherwise?
That's exactly right. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll look at the plans. I mean, that would be what, potentially a modification of the plans.
Probably a minor,
Could be a minor
yeah,
modification.
depending on what the board.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look at the details, but
How would you like me to proceed with that? Should I ask staff to come out? Should I draw them a plan?
Yeah, work with staff to figure out, the process that you'll need to follow for that, and then it'll come to us. Staff will get it on one of our agendas when it's
Sure.
when it's ready.
She'll steer you to what you need to do.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
check with
yeah,
you.
I think,
Reach
yeah,
out tomorrow.
Okay.
Process.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thank you very
Fiona
much.
can follow up on that for you and see what we can do with that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
is there anything more to discuss on this?
Not with you guys.
Hearing none, do we have a
You'd
motion?
like us to consider some future change in the rules, maybe?
You know what?
That might be under public input,
Yeah.
but just when you just missed. We could have a motion on this so that we could do the rest of the agenda
Yeah.
tonight.
Natalia's hand is up for what it's worth.
Oh, Natalia?
Just wanted to say that we were originally going to do a new construction cost estimate since the other one is dated. However, and charge him the $1,000 application fee for that, for each reduction and each new construction cost report, we ask for $1,000. However, Jeff Walsh, after looking at it, said with the increase of costs from that time period, it would not make sense to do it, that he felt that 449,000 was still a right figure, even though they've done some work. The increase in costs, et cetera, would all kind of even it out. So that's why he's recommended using the original 449,000 for section 2. And once they do additional work, they can come in and have it done. His suggestion was to do it later on, like when they're ready to do section 3. However, they can come in at any time as long as they submit $1,000 application fee, and then we can ask for a construction cost estimate again and do a reduction to whatever Jeff recommends. Does that make sense?
So, are we do we have something to do tonight?
Yes, you need to, Jeff recommended, rather than doing another construction cost estimate, to go with the amount he recommended. That
Yes.
is his recommendation at this point now.
Yes.
Yes, which is what's all, the whole printed out thing that we've got,
Yep, for section 2.
Yep.
yes,
So the board is being asked to approve that bond amount.
right.
The construction cost estimates for section 2 in the amount of
Well.
$449,000.
So moved.
That includes the 20%?
Second.
That includes the 20%?
Yes.
That does.
It does.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted unanimously.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All righty. Draft decision on 135 Westboro Road. Are we all set on that?
Yep, I didn't have any comments or suggestions after reviewing the draft decision. You know, Fiona did note in the draft that there were a couple of items in there that were basically included from the original special permit, even though arguably they might no longer really be applicable, but just for the sake of completeness, since the previous special permit had expired, I think Fiona was suggesting that we include these, and I had no problem with that. In fact, I'll go so far as to move that the board grant the special permit with favorable findings and conditions as drafted, any waivers requested being approved, subject to any changes that come up in discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Is everybody eligible to vote? You are.
Yes.
Yep, Mike
I did the
Mullen
Mullen.
for this. Mike Mullen for this, according
Okay,
to the record.
good.
Before the last meeting.
Okay. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted unanimously. 18 Nelson Street subdivision concepts for discussion.
Do you have those on?
Yeah, I'll start with.
Otherwise, the board.
Yeah, you can bring that up too. Sometimes they do. The paper version is helpful as well.
Thank you. For the record, John Grenier with J.M. Grenier Associates, and I'm here with Mark Johnson, who is the owner of the property. So, what we would like to do is get some input and feedback from the board before we move forward with any type of formal applications. What Mr. Johnson has is property on Nelson Street, which it's on the north side of Grafton, just south of the Shrewsbury line off of 140. Nelson Street's a quiet road. It's kind of a horseshoe or balloon-shaped little subdivision that gets access off of 140, as I stated. And what we would like to discuss with you is the total lot area that you see here, about 60,000 square feet, so call it an acre and a half. In this zoning district, it's required to have 20,000 square feet, half an acre, and 125 feet of frontage. So there is an existing multifamily located here, that's 20 Nelson Street. The remaining portion of the property is 18 Nelson Street. And what Mr. Johnson would like to do is create a subdivision, a paper road, so that he can create frontage and access for one residential single-family lot. So with that, we would be looking, we have two layout options, and then we'd like to go through, just because of the scope, it's for one lot, obviously we would be looking for waivers on primarily construction standards. But in terms of the layout for the right-of-way, what we're showing you here is a 50-foot right-of-way, which would take up a portion of the existing frontage for number 20. I should state right now, the existing frontage, there is 125 feet of frontage that is with number 20, which leaves a balance of 37 feet of frontage. So that's what causes the need for a subdivision to create frontage. There's not enough frontage. There's only 37 feet of frontage. So with that, what we're showing here is a 50-foot conventional 50-foot wide right-of-way, 120-foot diameter cul-de-sac, turnaround area. Within that, no roundings on it. In your subdivision regulations, you would have 30-foot roundings. Typically, we're trying to have the least amount of disturbance to number 20 and not eat up too much of the yard area associated with number 20. So no roundings. And typically a rounding is you have a 30-foot paper rounding because you're going to have a 30-foot rounding with the curbing and the asphalt and all that. Again, with just one lot, it doesn't warrant that. So we would, in this situation, have a 50-foot wide right-of-way, 125-foot diameter cul-de-sac, and then have really basically would be a single-family driveway with a turnaround for emergency vehicles, and then access up to the meat of the lot, which would be up here. The other option that we'd like to run by you and again, this is to have the least amount of disturbance to the existing lot at number 20. As you can see right here, this is the existing lot line for number 20, is to go with, I told you we had 37 feet of frontage, a 35-foot wide right-of-way, and an 80-foot diameter paper cul-de-sac wall, still with the same, basically single-family wide, 12-foot wide, enough for a turnaround for emergency vehicle, and again, then access up to where the single-family house would sit. So we understand that this would need multiple waivers, one for the alignment of the right-of-way, and then other items. And we came up with a quick list. A minimum side separation to adjacent right-of-ways. There is Windle Road, which is down the street. That's a dead end. It's a road, but a road in name only. Again, that's a quiet little dead end. I think there's one, is there one structure or two? Three off of that? And
Three with the garage.
the alignment of the road, minimum pavement width is 24 feet. We'd look for something that's more in line with a single family home. 12, 14 feet. We could talk to the fire department about that. Maximum centerline grade for minor streets of 8%. There is some, I want to flip this over. There is some topographic grade change. It's fairly flat along Nelson Street, but then it goes up fairly steep in the back. So for the driveway, in order to work with the grades, we would be looking for a waiver, probably of 10%. The max is 8% in the subdivision regulations. Minimum leveling area of 3% for 100 feet. We do have a leveling area, but it's less than the 100 feet in order so we can again make up grade and work with the grades on the site. Otherwise, we'd be carving out a ton of material again just for access for a single family home. Cul-de-sac with minimum paved turnaround, a radius of 40. Again, because it would be for a single family home, we'd be looking to talk to the fire department, make sure we have adequate access and turnaround area, but we don't necessarily need a cul-de-sac for something like that. And again, that would create a lot of grading that would be again unnecessary for the scope of the project. So We did meet with Fiona and other staff. She suggested we come in and talk to you informally. Next on the list, we've talked to the fire department, see what they would want for any, if they would want a hydrant. There is town water on the street. There is a hydrant down the street. I don't know the proximity if the fire department would want an additional hydrant. So whatever for life safety, you know, that comes first. So whatever the fire department would want, we'd be on board with accommodating that. So again, it's kind of a unique situation. We're looking to, again, it has area, it has the ability to do a cul-de-sac, but we're trying to look for something that is in keeping with the scope of what this project is, where it would really only be for one additional housing unit on an acre, a total of 1.5 acres, and leave this at about 1/2 acre, leave this at 1/2 acre, not change the area of this lot, but just create adequate frontage and access for a new lot. So again, before we get into the weeds with, you know, drainage designs and all of this kind of stuff, we want to try to get some feedback from you folks.
Okay. I have some fairly strong feelings about this, so I'll try to give everybody else a chance. Go. Go.
Yeah. So, some of the first thoughts that come to mind, and I'm going to kind of go rapid fire at the moment for them, is this feels like it's an attempt at a workaround for not having the proper frontage, rather than doing any sort of subdivision. This is, you're basically building a road to service this one house that would effectively be, hey, this is a driveway for that house. And the other thing of that road would be about 200 feet from the nearest parallel road, which is directly on the opposite side of a single one particular lot, which is something that we typically don't do in Grafton. Like, we'd have a road on 3 sides of a single building. That's not typically what we try to have in a situation here. And I applaud the attempt at ingenuity, but I overall am not that comfortable with this. This is, the waivers, if you, to 10% is still a little bit high. Even, effectively we have to treat it as if it's a road for, and not a driveway with regards to your proposal. And I don't know how I'd be comfortable with a road in that position and with that grading here.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
Mr. Chair? John, and I called you Steve out in the hallway.
I've been called much worse,
So,
Ray.
so have I. Trust me, tonight. Wouldn't this work as a common driveway better?
It's a frontage thing.
It's a frontage thing because you want that lot to be able to sell that lot. Is that,
Well-
that's what it is? Because a common driveway,
Wants frontage to build on.
yeah.
He
We need-
doesn't have frontage to build on.
We have 37 feet of frontage, right?
Yep.
In this zone, you need 125 feet
Yeah,
of
no, I
frontage,
know
so the
that, yeah.
paper street creates the frontage, and then, which we would need waivers on for the roundings and the offset to the other road, and then in addition to that, we would need waivers on some of the construction standards. But really what's driving this is we have 37 feet of frontage, and which would be, it's either we do a paper street and come in with waivers to you folks, or the other alternative, which, believe it or not, I think is less favorable, is to go in for a variance for 37 feet of frontage to the zoning board. At least with creating a cul-de-sac, we would have adequate legal frontage, more than enough legal area, and then waivers as part of the subdivision process.
But you're gonna create a paper cul-de-sac. This is not gonna be paved, it's not gonna have drainage, it's not gonna have,
What you see there that shows that,
it's all paved.
it's a winding driveway.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a driveway for, in all practical sense. We would have make sure we have enough for fire protection, for the fire department to get in and get out and be able to turn around. We would make sure, but for the scope of this, to have 24 feet of pavement, curbs, sidewalks, 100 or 80-foot diameter cul-de-sac paved, just doesn't, for the scope of what it is, doesn't seem to make sense, although we would want to make sure we keep it
So what,
safe.
what this plan shows is creating a right-of-way 50 feet wide from Brigham Hill Road back to a cul-de-sac right-of-way. So you're creating that right-of-way, but not paving it.
Which creates the frontage.
Right, right. So this is the point I'm trying to make, is that it creates right-of-way that is, for the most part, compliant, with the exception of the roundings
Correct.
and the cul-de-sac. So, but it's not proposing to pave that in a way that would typically be paved on a right-of-way of that shape and size.
Correct.
The paving is a 12-foot driveway.
Yeah, or whatever the fire department would want.
whatever,
They wanted
but,
14
yeah.
feet or 16 feet and a T turnaround or whatever they want. But yeah, not traditional. Basically, for all intents and purposes, if you pulled in there, you'd say, yeah, this is a driveway for our house.
Yes. But in order to create,
And it would be private and stuff, you know, nobody's looking to have the town take it over, maintain it.
No.
It would be basically a private way.
yeah, it's a consequence of the way this lot was created with only 37 feet of frontage on Brigham Hill Road.
Or Nelson.
Street.
No, Nelson.
This is Brigham Hill.
Yes,
Yeah.
the other parcel some of us were discussing is Brigham Hill Road. But yes, you've got 837 and a fraction feet of front. This lot has 37 and a fraction feet of frontage on Nelson. And that's the problem we're trying to solve.
That's the problem we're trying to solve.
Shall I? Okay. You need 125 feet for a lot to build a house. Zoning bylaw
Correct.
in R20, which is this. You don't have that. You have 37 feet. You have the lot next to it, which is, what is that, 20, whatever.
Number 20.
Yeah. That's a non-conforming use already, isn't it?
It is non-conforming, existing non-conforming use,
Pre-existing non-conforming use,
because it's a multifamily.
because it's more than, it's more than two. Yes. Clearly, the thing to do is to go for variance. I mean, that's the way our laws are intended to work. If you can show cause that's satisfactory to the way variances are granted, you can get it. But that's the point of the law, is there's a rule about under what terms do you grant the variance. So I start from there. You're asking us to really circumvent the ZBA, circumvent what has happened over the years. So I'm pretty concerned about that. The bylaw says that the lot has to be built in conformance with the subdivision. If there's a road made, it has to be built to the subdivision regulations, which require 50 feet plus 30 plus 30, 110 feet at where you have to have 110 feet of frontage on the road to satisfy our rule. You're asking us to waive that down from 110 feet to 37 feet, maybe 50.
Well, no, with the cul-de-sac.
No, I'm talking about on the existing road, Nelson Street, where the driveway subdivision road meets Nelson Street.
that's a 50-foot right of way, but with the creation
Yeah,
of the cul-de-sac
I'm not
frontage.
talking about there. I'm talking about you can't build the road that you're required to build unless you get a big waiver from us that you can't, or that you haven't even tried to get from the ZBA, who's the one who controls that sort of thing. And that's a problem for me. You have to have the roundings on your property, so you have to have 110 feet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, you talked about reducing the frontage of 20 so that you could get 50 feet. How are you gonna do that? Are you gonna get the ZBA to give on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, you're gonna get them to reduce the frontage for it?
For number 20?
Yeah.
That would also, that would get frontage, its technical frontage would come off of, because we would, if we went with the 50-foot, the straight 50-foot right-of-way, that would reduce this frontage on Nelson Street, but then this lot would, under its technical frontage, would have well more than enough frontage on this, on the new right-of-way.
So with this plan, number 20's frontage would be on this subdivision road.
With the 50-foot right-of-way.
Right.
So
With
it's
the
not-
35-foot right-of-way.
Yeah, that's different.
Nothing
but
would change.
That's what I mean, pointing at this plan
This
here.
plan, correct.
So
Yeah,
it's
so-
not a single
So
lot.
then it would be a two, it would
That's not a
be
single
two-lot
lot subdivision.
Yeah.
That's a two-lot subdivision, because you have two houses taking frontage from the road. That makes it harder to waive the rules for the road down. Windle Street, is that a public way?
I believe that it is. It's labeled. Yeah, it is public.
Okay. And it's got, you kind of brushed it aside, but it's got 4 or 5 houses on it, it looks like.
Oh, Windle. Oh, I thought you were talking about Nelson. Windle, that's a good question. I don't know if that's a public
Yeah.
street or
Well,
not.
but it can't be dismissed because it's got 4 or 5 houses on it. I've been on the board 34 years, and we've never done this. The best I can remember, there was one case for a single, now maybe somebody else knows another single lot subdivision, like anything like this, but I can't remember it. What I can remember is one from the 90s. This one, up on Brigham Hill Road. We had the concerns I'm expressing back then. And we said, because they dedicated all this land to protection, adding to the Forest Association or whatever, Land Trust, and so on, and built over here. And their layout was conforming, 110 feet at the front. We said, okay, we'll let you build to driveways, as long as you have the layout for the road, we'll let you build the road at a driveway standard. And I just really feel really trouble. It just doesn't feel right to me to be. I say at least start with a ZBA and get it. That's the right way to fix this frontage problem, if it can be fixed.
No. Okay. Just one further thought that I had as, Bob was talking, is that one thing that this board has faced in the courts in the past is, what is the board's precedent, even when it relates outside of, within our jurisdiction of things we can decide, based on our own judgment. What is the precedence we have set in other projects? I am slightly concerned if we do say, yes, this is okay, and then the next project that comes in, barely enough property space, 37 or so feet frontage, wants to work around going to the ZBA, wants to work around other things by giving a one lot subdivision, it could be very detrimental to the intent of how Grafton zoning has been. That's a feeling I have.
Yeah, right. What you're asking is for us to take over the ZBA's waivers in frontage. And I'm not gonna do that. We have to, back in 95, I felt that way, and I feel that way now. At least I'm consistent. Anybody else? Okay, we've shared views.
All right, we've got some thinking to do.
Yep. Now this, as I said before, it's clearly a difficult situation, and I don't know how many similar situations exist in the town, but as it is, it's very problematic. This lot was probably created long before we had any rules about the required frontages. The frontage requirements may have been different. The rules about building roads into a lot like this may have been different way back when.
I haven't. I've seen this type of situation before a couple times. This might be like the second or third time that.
Not in Grafton.
Not necessarily in Grafton.
Not definitely in Grafton.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your input.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it's past 7:30, so let's go to 277 Providence Road.
Okay.
John, good to see you.
Pursuant to section 1.3.3 of the Town of Grafton zoning bylaw, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 14th, 2025, commencing at 7:30 p.m. to consider an application for site plan approval for 8 single-family attached residential homes on property located at 277 Providence Road, as shown in the Grafton Assessor's Map 115, Lot 21. Said property is located in a village mixed-use South Grafton, VMUSC, and Water Supply Protection Overlay, WSPO zoning district. The applicant owner is Elevate Enterprises LLC. A copy of the application materials is available for public inspection at the planning department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Project webpage.
Okay, so I am just going to do a brief run through of the project from my review. This is in 277 Providence Road in South Grafton. Obviously, as Greg mentioned, it's an 8-unit multifamily development in the form of 4 what are classified as single-family attached buildings in the VMU district. Each building is roughly 25 feet high with a deck, yard, and parking garage for each unit. There's a common open space to the rear of the property, which is a requirement of the zoning as well. That's about 44% of the lot, so it's exceeding what is typically required by almost double in that zone, which is nice. The other site improvements include obviously significant improvements to grading and drainage, underground utilities, lighting, and landscaping. The total impervious area is under the 25% requirement for the Water Supply Protection Overlay District. I had a couple of things that I flagged in my review that I'm happy to talk about further, but I did want to give the applicant a chance to explain the project and answer questions first. So whatever you want to do, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to.
Names and
Sure. Raouf Mancarius with Alpha Omega Engineering. I have the client.
I'm Gabriel Praxaris with Elevate Enterprises.
So Fiona, would you please bring it on the screen?
Sure.
So if you go start with sheet number 1. So there used to be a three-family building with a barn and a detached garage that were demolished like about over a year ago. My client would like to build 4 buildings, single-family detached units. We will be below the 25% of impervious coverage. The units will be served by public water and sewer. We just received actually the review from Fiona and Jeff Walsh like sometime early this morning, but we didn't have a chance to go through it. So we'll be looking at it and then we'll get back to them. The drainage basically will be for the roof runoff will be collected and underground, and the overflow will go to an existing drainage pipe that's on the side of the property. We looked quickly at one of the comments from Graves Engineering about the turnaround area, and we have room to move it around so we can give room for the turnaround coming out of the garages. Lighting, it's just like a single family. We just have like some lights around the house, but everything will be dark sky. Nothing will be outside, but if you need a lighting plan, we can provide that. Other than that, it's just a straightforward project. Because of the distance between the building requirement, we have some modern style homes. I don't know if you have that. You want to bring it up on the screen? And we were talking to the neighbors, and I think that's what they like to see on the area. They were so unhappy with the one next door across the street, so we try to satisfy the neighborhood too.
Good.
That's
Okay. Question, discussion.
One of the things, and he said he didn't have hadn't gone through the Graves report, so one of the things that was my comment was some of the things about the drainage for, I think, G and H weren't covered. So that was one of the things, but obviously if you're going to review that, then the next time.
Yeah, I did look at it quickly. I think there is a little misleading in the connection in the pipes, but it's something very easy to fix.
So that was one of mine. And then the other one was just the comment that that had shown up from, I think, Steve Teixeira. I'm not sure of this, but and his was, it's a more modern, your structure is more modern. He was thinking it doesn't fit as well with the rest of the neighborhood. So that was his comment, and I had a similar thought when I saw the project rendering.
We're limited with the building height requirement, that's why.
Yeah, I think those are my only views.
Yeah, I agree on the aesthetic of the building, but that wouldn't sway my vote one way or the other. To be frank, that's just a
thought,
thing.
yep.
Just a thought. The main points I had, which I think were primarily covered by both staff and Graves, is the turnaround, the curb cuts with the sidewalk and the district parallel sidewalk, I believe was said, and then as well as the parking requirements on where you're not really going to be able to park on the street there, and so if someone has a guest over or multiple guests, or those extra parking spots, like where would they go? That they park in that shared driveway, beyond the 2 parking spots each units are located, they'll be kind of blocking in their neighbor. So that's a thought I had, and just wanted to.
So each unit is gonna have 1 car garage and 1 parking space in front. It's very limited site, so we're trying.
Constraints to the site, I understand. Those are just my thoughts in the first place.
And we also actually requested waivers from the front setback to be farther away. And I remember that I believe that the board already granted 274 a waiver from that. The site across the street, I was looking at their approval.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar with that. And I'm also not familiar with any provisions in the zoning that allow the board the ability to grant that waiver. When I was doing my analysis, I didn't find any language. I can look further into that.
Sure. Yeah, I have it actually with me here.
The ability for us to grant waivers as well would be dependent on what type of development it is as well. That's one of the other things that come into play. for like as in, is it using a mixed use bylaw, or is it a single property, that kind of thing? But yeah, staff and Graves didn't know. But that's it for me.
Mr. Chair, are these prefab?
No.
No, this is all stick frame?
Rafael Hernandez, we're the architects of the project, through the chair. Yeah, these are stick-built buildings with truss roofs and conventional framing, 2x6 wall construction.
Yeah, no, I was just asking. Seems like a perfect manufactured, you could glue them all together.
Not a bad idea.
I don't have anything
Okay.
at the moment.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to review the Graves report
The-
yet.
Yeah, there is a comment that touches on some of this in the record from, I guess, a neighbor. Let me see.
That's the one I referred to, Mr. That's the one I referred to, Mr. Chair.
Yes. It's from, I'm not sure where he is, but anyway, he's near.
Next door, I think.
Steve Texier.
He's across the street from the
Across.
project. He's next door to number
So-
274.
Those are concerns that are more or less in line with some of what's being discussed. The Graves report has, and Fiona's stuff,
Sure.
has
that's-
a fair number of bases that need to be covered.
Sure.
Let's see if we have any, well, if you're okay, I'll go and see what comment we may have from the room or on the internet. Anybody who want to comment on this at this time? Come down to the mic, please.
My name's Rob Nixon, and I own the property at 281 Providence Road, which is next door to the development. And I support this development completely, I really do. The only issue I had is that I got a phone call one day that someone was pulling out my trees. And it was someone from this group. They're on my property, I already checked the property line. So I support the proposal, what they're doing, but I just want to make sure that it's done right without, I don't know why they started doing it before getting approvals or anything like that. So they took out one big arborvitae out of my property, ripped it right out. Someone called me at 5:30 on a Saturday afternoon to tell me they were down there. So not sure why they were doing it at 5:30 on a Saturday afternoon. Have no idea. But I just want to make sure that it's done right and that I get something back planted there in the future. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think that my client was doing it. He hired someone cutting the trees for side distance and for the bound that's on the corner. And he was supposed to only trim some branches on the right of way, but he went and he cut the tree. And my client talked to him already, and he's planning to plant another tree. It's just done by mistake.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else up here? I think you need to request that we continue the hearing until a future date.
Sure.
Natalia has her hand up. Natalia has her hand up.
Natalia,
Sorry, that was a mistake.
oh,
It was a mistake.
yeah, that was a virtual. Yeah,
Yes.
Sure. We request to continue the public hearing until we address the comments by Fiona and the review engineer.
Okay.
So our next meeting is July 28th. After that is August 11th. I can name others if you want, but however long you feel you need to prepare for our next meeting, just let us know.
Sure. Okay.
So what-
We'll try August 28th. If we need extension, we'll ask.
August.
July 28th.
I mean, so July 28th. I'm sorry.
Okay.
How about July 28th? Okay, you have
Thank
a
you.
form here that you sign.
Yep.
And,
Staff will get you the form to sign. And I'll move that we grant the applicant's written request to continue this hearing until July 28th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously.
Thank you.
Good, we'll see you then. Moves me on to request for special permit and site plan at 3 Patricia Drive.
All right. Pursuant to sections 1.5.7 and 1.3.3 of the Town of Grafton zoning bylaws, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 14th, 2025, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in the conference room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, to consider an application for a special permit and site plan approval request for an accessory apartment located at 3 Patricia Drive, shown as Grafton Assessor's Map 89, Lot 140. Said property is located in a low-density residential R40 and water supply protection overlay zoning district. The applicant owners are Michael and Catherine Jonkas. A copy of the application plan is available for public inspection at the planning department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov. On the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
So this application is pretty straightforward. I did my standard review. The unit is, one of the rooms will be contained within the principal, dwelling on the lot. The total ask is about 539 square feet, on the first floor of the home, and in the existing garage, which will be converted to a living space. So there will be one room, and I'll pull up the plans because sometimes it's awkward to explain when you can. The plans definitely show it a lot better than I can explain it. But one of the rooms will be within the principal dwelling, connected through a doorway to the garage, which is to be converted. The applicant is also proposing to build a new garage. Is not the subject of this, but just for the board's knowledge. The adjacent garage next to the former living room, now bedroom, has 2 floors. Converted and will have a bathroom and kitchen on the first floor and a master bath and closet on the second floor. The bedroom, which is the room that's contained within the principal structure, and the converted garage make up the entire apartment, which is a roughly 12% increase in the building footprint, which is minimal. There will be plenty of means of egress and ingress, so we're not concerned in that regard. And the applicant did, prior to filing with the board, had consulted with the building commissioner about this particular application. One thing that I will flag, and I do have this in my memo for the board, is and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have about the criteria that this doesn't qualify as a protected use ADU under the law due to the fire and building code requirements. So it does need to be reviewed in this manner. But I would just suggest, the board kind of factor that into when we're hearing throughout the public hearing, because there is a lot of movement in the ADU world at the state level. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. I will pull up the plans. They have the law is maintaining the minimum pervious surface requirements. Again, plenty of doorways to be installed in the new additions, and there will be it meets the definition of our bylaw. So I didn't have any concerns, and neither did Tracy. So happy with it.
Good afternoon, Michael Jonkas, and this is Catherine Jonkas. We're owners, and we're just looking to convert the garage to living space for my mom, Jane. So we're selling her property. She's currently in Millbury, but she was a longtime Grafton resident, looking forward to coming back. So that's pretty much the plan.
I wasn't quite clear whether the outline of the building will get bigger. There was something about the garage.
So a good portion of the existing garage will be converted into her living room, bathroom.
Yeah, but I'm from the outside.
From the outside, so we're basically moving the garage to the right.
So on the screen there, the two garage doors are in a new section, a new garage that's to be added.
So the first garage bay will become her space.
Right.
The second garage bay will become the first garage bay, and then we'll have like so we'll build one other one after that. So we're sort of just only going out by one garage bay.
To the right side of the home.
Yep.
Okay, you're adding one regular garage width,
Correct.
and the roof line follows that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is the footprint of the home as far as the accessory apartment permitting for us goes isn't changing. The garage is just a normal building department permit that gets pulled, so that no bearing on our, vote here. And this feels like just a very standard accessory apartment application.
Yep.
The only question I had that probably got me confused with just the ADU, talk in our record here. So I understand how it's not a protected ADU. That much I understand, but we typically have a provision in our decisions for accessory apartments that just restricts it to family and does not run with the property. Is that still, to your knowledge, applicable that we can put in our decision, or is that no longer?
I wouldn't. I would recommend not doing that.
Okay.
Well, what's the law?
It's on the bylaw. It's not in the bylaw, so I just wouldn't. In this instance, doesn't matter because it will be for a family member. But
No, the point is when they, years from now, when they sell the place, will that be an uncontrolled unit?
Based on today's
Or will
laws.
it be like the ones we've always done, which are limited to family?
yeah, I mean, it will be uncontrolled.
That's because of whoever passed that ADU, right?
Yeah, if use and occupancy in protected ADUs, it's very, I wouldn't include that condition.
My understanding though is that this is not a protected ADU. That's just
It's right, but
it's splitting hairs a little bit, but
yeah,
Well,
that's my professional recommendation, is to not include that policy that you typically do.
it's our policy. It's been our policy for at least 34 years. And if necessary, let's get some advice from council.
Okay, I can confirm.
But that's probably not the biggest worry for you. All we're saying is that all the accessory apartments that the board has approved over a long time have been for, basically when the law passed, it was the mother-in-law apartment. The idea was, a family thing. And the board is always, I think, stuck with that. And, what is the new law?
We don't have any intention of using it for anyone but family. But
Yeah, there are two.
future owners.
Yep.
Right. Two provisions that we have historically included in an accessory apartment special permit decision. One is the accessory apartment is to be occupied by some form of family relative. The other is the approval for the accessory apartment is only for the current owner of the property. So the permit would expire if the property was ever sold. Both of those provisions are not permitted under the new state accessory dwelling unit law and regulations, which technically those regulations don't apply in this case because this is not considered what the regs call a protected use ADU. So in principle, we could consider continuing to use those conditions, or we could consider sort of leaning towards complying with the new ADU laws and not including those conditions. As Bob said, historically, we've included those two conditions in every accessory apartment special permit that we've granted for more years than I've been on the board. We have yet, and this is not a topic for discussion tonight, we have yet to work on aligning our zoning bylaw with the new state ADU law and regulations. And we would, and also as an aside, in our zoning bylaw, we don't mention those two conditions that I talked about. They're not in the bylaw, but the board has historically used them. And
Why-
staff here is suggesting that the board consider not continuing to do that.
My
We don't have to decide that tonight necessarily.
my 2 cents is that, oh, maybe 3 cents. That is a thing the board will need to decide with regards to doing a draft. It's really doesn't seem like it concerns you one way or the other at this point.
Yep.
I feel it probably at least until there's guidance or reason that we need to change it, or when we do the line with the ADU, we should probably keep it in. At least for this, if someone comes to us that wants to use it for a non-family, then we can have a discussion around that if we haven't changed the law. Our
Well,
answer for this. That's my opinion.
If it falls under ADU, then at some point, someone will say, hey, that condition doesn't apply.
Yep.
Or shouldn't apply. What I'm not clear about, because ADU's been a little fluid for me.
Yes.
Why are we saying that this doesn't qualify as an,
Because in part fire and building code regards to the ADUs.
Hmm?
Fire and building code because of like needing for fire protection changes
Oh.
between the rooms and stuff, such like that.
and this isn't gonna have that?
Correct.
So it doesn't qualify for ADU. So I say we just, well, we're gonna decide tonight, or what we're gonna,
We'll
close the
decide with
hearing
our
tonight?
decision.
What I'm guessing we will do tonight is close the hearing and direct staff to draft a decision. We will deliberate on that decision at our next meeting, and during that deliberation, we can decide how we want to deal with these two conditions that we have historically included and that are completely compatible with you as the owners and your intended use.
And-
So from your perspective, it almost doesn't matter whether we include those conditions.
As long as it doesn't slow you down.
Yep.
And it does not seem like this board has any negative comments to say, though we will vote formally with the decision.
Okay. That's everything you need to say? No,
Yep,
not.
not yet.
Yes.
Any comments from the world, from the room? I think I would accept a motion.
I will move that the public hearing be closed and that staff be directed to draft a decision based on all the documentation received and testimony received during the meeting.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Now, what I'm gonna ask is that the draft have available in it our traditional language, and then, to the degree you feel necessary, get advice from council.
Yeah.
And we can
Yes.
either leave it in or take it out,
And-
depending on
and-
what they say at the next meeting.
Any advice from council on that topic, particularly in light of what's happening with protected use ADUs, although this isn't one, but any advice from council would be probably helpful.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
Thank you.
Probably
Thank
see
you.
you the next time. All right. That
Completes our
finishes
hearings.
the hearings. Back to the Grafton Common Traffic Study, which has been submitted. And I'm disappointed that it didn't look at the one-way option.
I knew you would be, Bob. So just a brief update. It's more of a kind of scheduling update, more than anything. Tomorrow, the select board is going to be talking further about some of the redesigns that are in the plan. At this stage, public comment will be heard at the meeting, and will be considered by the select board, but ultimately we're trying to have the final draft with all the feedback, approved on August 12th. So tomorrow will really be focusing on getting the select boards their thoughts about the proposed redesigns and really nailing down what can be eliminated entirely versus what is something that we should study further, versus what is something we can start doing immediately. And they did provide some feedback about some of the more lower hanging fruit items, like changing the repaving the lines as well as starting to work on the speed limits. So the select board pretty much unanimously was in favor of those safety measures. So staff is starting to work with Mass DOT on that. It will take some time, but just so everybody is aware, we did hear that loud and clear. And yeah, that's really kind of my my summary on it. Tomorrow will be a more substantive conversation. And again, yeah, we're hoping to have a final plan approved by the 12th. And Stantec will be on tomorrow just to kind of give a little bit more overview. So folks will have an opportunity to hear what Stantec has to say if they have any other questions. Public comments that were sent to myself or to the select board will be considered tomorrow. So just know if you emailed me, that information was accounted for in the report. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have at this stage. I do want to say, actually, before we do that, that a lot of the recommendations that are in the plan some of them involve a lot more study than others. So, obviously there's going to warrant piloting some of these things, with cones or what have you, or creating a working group to study things further, especially some of the recommendations that are on the west side of the common, where the church is in the slip lanes. That's obviously that's a significant reconfiguration. And
I hope somebody's gonna get busy on the weird don't do this, don't do that signs that are out there now. No turn, no straight ahead, no truck, who knows what, in at least 2 different places. That's just, at least we don't have a bridge for them to run under like.
True. So.
Yeah, but I think I get the impression that the signage recommendations from Stantec are things that we could do quite easily. Our DPW is well equipped to do signs.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether, I don't recall whether there were actual sign recommendations for that issue, but, because the selectmen decided trucks shouldn't be allowed to do whatever.
Stantec did have a specific sign recommendation for the trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I know it was touched on. Okay.
So, real quick, Bob, I'll just make a few comments of mine on this presentation because I know I'm not going to make it to the select board tomorrow. But I think the 2-way on Jordan Boulevard is probably not something that I'm in favor of, just considering the narrowness of that road. People in the apartments that are right there, the corner north and the boulevard, sometimes park on Boulevard as well right now. The parking for the pub and the antique store tend to make that essentially a 1-lane road as it is, especially if people are trying to park or pull out of those parking spots. Correct. That is just not a good candidate for 2-way. You're not going to gain much from having it 2-way because if you're pulling up the 140 heading toward the common, it's pretty much just as easy to turn and go down North Street from right in front of the main building there. Some other thoughts from me is, at least personally, the brick for crosswalks is a lot more eye-catching than just more white in that area. So, that's just something in my mind. And then the idea of moving the crosswalk that goes to essentially the walkway on the common closer to 140 in front of the cars. I think with the way the buildings are stationed there, and the other cross traffic, people are going to maybe stop before the crosswalk and then pull up, block the crosswalk, and try to pull out in whatever direction they're going. That would be probably a worse situation for pedestrians, in my opinion, than
moving them up.
Moving the crosswalk from going where Cones in the Common is to the to the common itself, moving that in front of where the traffic is heading toward 140 from Millbury Street, I think it is. That's one thought that came to mind. And all the road narrowing pieces, yes, in general, narrower roads is a traffic calming feature, but given the amount of tractor trailer trucks and such that go through that area, to me that might be a more likely for an accident to happen situation regarding the turning radiuses of these trucks. And we've already narrowed a little bit of 140 when we last did the coming over in that, like in front of the library area.
Mm-hmm.
And though I do like the idea of possibly reducing or removing the sidewalk next to the Grafton Inn heading on Upton Street. So where the library was redone and has a better sidewalk on that side now.
Yeah, the suggestions that they had for, it was really restriping that would give the illusion that it's narrower. There's no like physical change to the roadway cross section or anything, but
Yeah, how I read it, there was some spots where they actually talked about narrowing it, and
some of there was some as you get closer, some like extensions of the sidewalk.
especially right near the common there, and that corner near South Street.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they quite extended to the place I'm a little bit interested in what's happening or what's going to happen. You go down on the sidewalk on Upton Street next to the library.
Yep.
And you get down there and you run on a sidewalk at the railroad right away. Mm-hmm. And then just on the other side, now you pick up new sidewalk. And I really would like to know who, how, why, what. I think the sidewalk on the other side more or less is continuous. It's older, but that walk really should be sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little talk about some of that sidewalk with a previous administration. Okay. I would at least like to know what, apparently there are 3 or 4 parties, the state and all these different people playing with that. And I'd really be interested in what the story is with it. I'm sure that going back and forth between Cumbies and the library is something that might happen in the afternoon a good bit.
Yeah. The other thing that I just remembered about that I wanted to say as I was scrolling the travel volumes, I'm sure peak hours and such, these travel volume directions are accurate. That doesn't strike me as anything different. Though I will say, having traveled that area many times around the dismissal of North Street School, the travel from North Street to that problematic corner on the common there is fairly heavy. I don't know if the model caught that dismissal hour necessarily and called it out in some way, but that would be something just to kind of be aware of and look at as this is being redesigned. Yeah, the overall top hours in the day, almost definitely accurate. More people are going up and down 140 etc.
Yeah.
But that
not catching the 2 to 3.
The 2 to 3 dismissal hour of North Street School probably has some impact, and I know several people that explicitly go a long way around toward East Street because the traffic near the common is even worse.
Okay, yeah. I think we did hear a little bit about that at the open house. So that the bottleneck that happens there when school is out. But yeah, that I'll make sure they get the comments as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we really have to have no left turn as the boulevard, whatever, reaches Worcester Street?
Oh, what you're pulling out.
I can't speak too much to that. I will say
I know that it was changed to, they put in a no left turn rule there at some point.
Long time ago.
When it's not busy, it doesn't seem that bad, but I could see how somebody could be coming through the common pretty fast as you're trying to make a left out of there. You
That's
gotta
the
go
same as any
across.
left turn.
It's pretty tough.
Because
Yeah.
one part of the problem there is all the traffic goes on up and across in front of the church and One Grafton Common. And if you wanna go down Worcester Street, you gotta do that in order to get onto Worcester Street. And you're adding to the high traffic across.
Well, right now, it's kind of a cut through to make a right and go down Worcester Street, you know.
Yeah.
So,
But-
you can slip out if you're in the queue trying to get into the common. I mean, I think that's another reason why it's a question about making that two-way, because if people are trying to come up to North Street, now you're trying to cut through that whole queue of cars. It blocks it, you know.
Yep.
Well, but I quite frankly, quite often, I'm there in the middle of when nothing's going on, and I wanna, I'm on, Jordan Road, and I wanna go I wanna go to the common, I don't wanna go to, like Ripple, and, now I gotta turn onto Worcester Street, go down the hill, find some place to turn around and come back up. And that's really not terribly convenient. If there's heavy traffic, you're gonna do something different. But if you're on, like if you went to any of went to, Apple Tree or to, the off the common, now you're stuck with that problem as you come away. A lot of people go in and out of that's the backside of Apple Tree.
Yeah.
And the businesses there.
I would say
So anyway, I'm interested.
back when it was two-way, at least people that were turning left would constantly hang up the traffic that wants to turn right, as well as if there was given enough room to slip to the side, people turning left would be pulling out far enough to see because of the way the building is that you can't see anything coming when you're trying to turn right anyway because of the vehicles.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I kind of come back, I drive through every day. I kind of come back to start with the obvious stuff, slowing the cars down that are coming in and out.
Yep.
I think will help because the visibility is tough. And, whatever striping or signage does that, it's a good start. I would, it's worth exploring some of these other things in terms of like closing a section of the road, but I think it would take some real study to see what kind of benefits you're going to get from it. I mean, the reality is we're dealing with a layout that's hundreds of years old, right? So you don't want to, you want to keep the common, you're going to have to kind of deal with it. But I think a lot of it would be if the cars are moving slower, right? And then, a lot of it, and I don't know how to solve for this, but a lot of it comes from impatience because people get stuck in a queue and then they're trying to sneak across, right? But if cars are moving slower, then maybe there's more brakes. We can be, we have to see. But I don't know how far you can optimize it, right?
Right now, they have to deal with keeping me from going across into the old fire station parking lot, hanging a U, and then making a right turn up the hill.
Oh, I just ignore the no left turn sign.
Well, that too, but I don't want to be dragged off. and
If
chained.
nobody's there, I'm gonna make that left turn.
Well, I wouldn't dare do that. There's probably cameras or something.
I will notify the media, Dave.
Good way.
I said we'll notify the media that Dave doesn't do left turns. He doesn't agree with left.
No, Dave does do that.
I think I have once that I can remember made that left turn in defiance of the sign.
But I've used the park.
I don't go that way very often.
Yeah.
But yes, on at least one occasion, I disobeyed the no left turn sign.
I've used,
Statute of limitations has probably run out on that though.
I've used the fire station parking lot more than that.
Yeah.
Fair amount more.
Yeah.
When I have been involved in doing things like the art show that we had there at Apple Tree.
Now I would.
We needed to go there. We had to deal with that.
Yeah. I would like to see some of that pavement eliminated, at least as travel lanes. Maybe some of it might serve well as parking, but there are too many roadways around there.
Yeah, and there are businesses that rely on it.
Yeah, Stantec has addressed that in some of their suggestions, so we'll see what comes of that.
You may also have an option to go into off the common, and then on the far driveway you can go up the hill. I've looked at it. I don't think I did it because I think I need it could go downhill. Okay. Have we beaten that one up enough?
I just
Good.
on the, just one thing, please. I agree with Greg's comment. I think that slowing down, especially coming into the common and slowing the speed down, I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing is, I think with a lot of the spaces that they're trying to do in front of, you know, where the Uncommon Cow is and the store, putting those with a little bit of curbing to allow people to back out with that makes a lot of sense, especially on those. They can narrow it will cause the traffic to slow down as it comes into those intersections. And then my only other comment is going along with the master plan is making sure that whatever is going to go on, that the small businesses have had the proper time to get some input so that they can feel, and I think that a lot of them have provided input already. So I hope that will continue so that we don't want to force anybody out, because there's a lot of good activity that's going on in those buildings.
With some of the recommendations in the traffic study, they've clearly, and Fiona had mentioned this early on in this discussion, that some of those recommendations are basically calling for more study and evaluation to figure out what really makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's entirely appropriate because, easy things to do, improvements in signage, some of what we can do to better, manage speed. Some of that's going to be pretty easy. I think from the select board discussion I recall listening to last time around, there was some consensus on at least a couple of those things that they think they'd want to do right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Others, we need to think about it some more.
Yeah.
Spent a good bit of money, I think 2 cycles around the common in recent years. Good bit of money. Okay, technical review committee.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna do my regular brief spiel. So last time we spoke about this, it was on the 14th of April, and kind of, let it lie for a bit. I think we got some mixed feedback at the time. But I will admit that since we spoke, I haven't been able to meaningfully engage with, the TA's office about the next steps for formulating this committee. It will involve, significant work in terms of developing a charge. The select board will need to appoint them, et cetera, et cetera. But, I do think that we should still be able to kind of continue to talk about this and see how we can tease this out and improve kind of the way that we're reviewing things now. And I think Ray wanted to add a couple of things as well.
Yeah, I sent something out. I wouldn't do
I'll
that.
bring it up.
I don't know if everybody got to see it or not, but
Yep.
it's just something that I put together, and I came up with a list of departments that would be on the TRC committee, and this is based on my experience that I've been before multiple planning boards and TRCs before presenting projects. So I found that the technical review committee was considerably not, and I want to say faster, because it wasn't a faster process at times, depending on the size of the project that you were doing. Because you ended up instead of going to planning board meetings every 2 weeks or whatever it is, you forgot this, so you come back in 2 weeks and all of that. The TRC meetings were every week, so you could come back, multiple times each week and visit with the same people who are going to give you their thoughts. But just to go over it quickly, reviews would take place during the regular workday by the exact same people that approve or get sent the plans now. The only difference is that they'd be around a table and they'd be at a meeting, and it would be a committee.
And what they say there has what legal wait when,
No, see,
when people get unhappy.
I know you get, you know, worked up about, you know, lawyers. We have tons of lawyers.
Yeah, that's
This
the
is
problem.
not, this is not a situation where this committee is going to make any decisions other than that you have all of the information that the planning board requires prior to their hearing, and now you go to the hearing. So,
No, I picture the building inspector saying, yeah, that can be done. And then they come here and they find out it can't be.
well, no, but see, that's, things
And
like that.
that's a kind of a
Things
tricky
like
line.
things like that shouldn't happen, okay, because it's not just the building inspector that's
Right.
sitting there in the meeting. It's everybody else. It's Fiona, it's conservation, it's fire sewer, it's everybody involved in this.
It's just,
So-
just to be careful.
So and as a matter of fact, and again, these are all thoughts or things that I have experienced. So the TRC would determine if the submission would go through the TRC process or go right to the planning board. So in some projects, in some situations, and I'll take Wyman Gordon's for example, okay? That's huge and complex and everything like that. More than likely, a project like that would not go through the TRC process. It would go through the standard special permit process for the planning board. But smaller things, the TRC would direct the applicant to change or alter submission and suggest if necessary boards or committees need to be, have submissions. Once the submission has been thoroughly reviewed and approved by the TRC, they would approve formal submission to the planning board. The formal submission to the planning board would include a detailed synopsis of the TRC meetings along with changes and conformance to the Grafton zoning bylaws. Once submitted to the planning board, the board would go through the review of the project and vote to approve or deny or whatever it is, the exact same process. So, you know, and I just wrote, you know, in conclusion, the TRC will streamline the planning process for the town of Grafton. Staff members who normally review all of the projects would still review the projects, but during the workday at a TRC meeting. This would also advance the period of the individual department reviews. All peer reviews and third-party reviews would be completed prior to the submission to the planning board. The process will reduce multiple meetings of the planning board. So in other words, people who keep coming back, and you guys have seen more than I have, every 2 weeks, or 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, and 2 weeks, and 2 weeks. All the stuff that they had to keep coming back for all those 2 weeks would all be taken care of by this committee. All of the peer reviews and everything. So, you know, in my closing here, it says, I believe that the creation of a TRC format will make the town's planning process more efficient and streamlined. I would like to see the planning board make a decision to allow staff to put together this format for review and final approval of the planning board. And the reason that I say that is that the staff, Fiona, and Natalia, along with other people, and I would be more than willing to help, to put together a draft of what this committee, the makeup of this committee, how it's going to operate and what it's going to do and what the end results are. So I think that the board, again, my opinion, I think that the board should vote to have staff start this process and then bring it back to the board for final approval.
So you're looking for this to review submissions to the planning board, but it seems to me that there are very similar issues for Concom, ZBA.
Concom would be on the committee. ZBA would be on the
No,
committee.
somebody who has to go to Concom
Oh,
to
yeah.
get an approval.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
You know, but this, you're talking, this is only planning board.
No. So if you read here, it says that the committee, and again, I'm not gonna find it, but the committee TRC would direct the applicant to change, alter the submission and suggest, if necessary, additional boards and committees that they would need to submit to. So that's part of that. You know, if you need to go to conservation prior to coming to the planning board, you're wasting time of the planning board.
What I'm saying is, if I'm submitting to the planning board, somehow I'm supposed to be steered to submit to this committee. But if I've got something that just has to go to Concom, I'm not told to go to this committee.
Correct.
Because they need the same, or much of the same, checking and looking at and whatnot. There's also a kind of a delicate interaction with chapter 40 and 41. The state law says you want to do something, you submit a application to the planning board, and you need, and they have X days to do Y and Z.
And you would do that. You would do that, but.
But if I come in and I say, oh, wait, before I can submit to the planning board, I have to go through this committee.
Yes.
But chapter 40 and 41 are gonna have a problem with that.
But your submittal under chapter 40 and 140 days or whatever the days are, that would still take place after the TRC review.
But the point is that the state law doesn't let us delay them. If I wanna do something, if I can walk in here to the clerk and the planning board tomorrow with a submission, and they usually get in here with an incomplete submission, but it's still logged in at the clerk, it's still stamped, and that's when the clock starts, not after they've done what we told them they had to do and go through that other thing.
And that's one of those situations where the TRC would say, Fiona would say, you can't go through TRC, you have to submit to the planning board. That was in here. It's some
Well, okay.
projects. Some projects are going to go directly to the planning board, like chapter 40. Other projects, like two we had here tonight. It would have been a lot easier for them to go to a TRC and then bring the final plan to the planning board than it would have been to come here and sit here and then come back 2 weeks later.
It would have been easier, but we don't have a right to tell them they have to do it.
Well, if we establish a technical review committee.
No, well, we can ask council about that.
So-
But okay,
It's
an area that is, has to, I have concern, needs to be.
some thoughts raised. So we say in your draft here, it's not really a draft, but it's just a thing. ZBA, but not ZBA member. Is that intentional?
No, I just,
just
Justin, I just wrote down department.
I was just checking. I wasn't sure.
The final decision on who would be on that committee would be up to the planning board.
Yeah, and so this is a committee formed by the planning board?
Yes.
Yeah, we have the power to, we don't have to have the selectmen do it.
No.
I was just double
I
checking.
I can name a committee, I can form a subcommittee.
Well, not by yourself.
I've been a member of one since I created it, 20-some years ago up on the common. I'm the one.
Well, I created a committee on myself. It's me and my wife, and we've been 50 years. So
Well, I've got you beat. I've got 55.
So
I'll say this is interesting. I share some of Bob's concerns. I think we should have at least council involved in just vetting that we can do it and what's involved in what we need to be concerned with and possibly here for any final vote. But I will, for sake of moving this forward just a little bit, I will move that the planning board direct staff to come up with a draft and investigate this for a final approval by the planning board at a future date.
No, second. I think it's a little early for that. If we talk in terms of a service that we offer to people, before you submit that, if you come before this committee, we can streamline it a lot. Okay, I'll do that, because some of that happens now, right?
Yeah, to an extent, but it's not, in my opinion, development team meeting isn't as effective as it could be. Development team meeting isn't as effective as it could be.
No, but if some people don't have to come to that committee, but they get encouraged perhaps to do so.
Yeah.
And they get help that way. Okay, I had another piece of that. There's one thing, if this is a committee that meets every week, that's 12 or 11 or 12 salaried people needing to spend hours. You know, you're talking about a lot of hours. I think the forming committees that the town administrator has to staff, you know, has to allow time for. It's going to require a little conversation too.
Yep.
So anyway,
Yeah.
let's you know, see what we can do. If we can, basically, it's someplace between formal thing and
Yeah.
maybe upgrades of the PRC.
Yep.
Yeah, I think just quickly, I like the idea of people getting a consult so they can understand what they have and what they're missing. I do share a little bit of the concern that if it's something really formal, they'll come in here thinking it's a rubber stamp, and then everybody here has to interpret what the project is, you know, especially for a special permit with everything we have to consider. So I definitely think people need more help in getting oriented, but like what form it takes, I guess is the question.
Yeah, and Bob's salary point of 12 people is pretty much why I was wondering if we were the ones creating the committee or had to be the select board, because it involves basically the town's budget for departments we don't have any control over. But yeah, we can hash that out and figure out what needs to happen.
We create a committee and say who should be on it, and then the town administrator gets to say whether they come to the meetings or not.
Well, yes, like we can create the committee.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's an idea worth exploring further. There are some wrinkles to consider, you know, going back to some of the concerns about the extent to which we can make this in any sense mandatory, the extent to which we offer this as you know, a service to potential applicants. The committee, this review committee, should it come into existence, is not going to be in a position to make any decisions or possibly, maybe recommendations, but certainly not decisions that are within the discretionary authority of this board. So there, you know, there needs to be, that point needs to be clearly understood, particularly by applicants, is that the planning board is the one that makes certain, has the discretion regarding special permits, which is where a lot of difficulties that often come in, is, you know,
subdivisions too.
So as long as that's clear, as long as this committee operates within what the town can legally do. One of the concerns I had about was peer review. The suggestion that this committee would handle some of the peer reviews, to the extent that that involves paying outside reviewers. There comes the question of how do we get the applicants to pay for that peer review. The zoning bylaw is clear about paying for reviews within the context of a special permit application. Beyond that, I think there is statutory authority for the town, for the board, to adopt rules and regulations regarding peer reviews that are not within the context of a special permit, as would be the case here. This would be a peer review prior to submitting a special permit application. We'd want to make sure, again, this is where council can advise as to whether this is something that we can actually do. I think I've convinced myself that we could but town council would be a much better authority than me on that. So there are a lot of questions here that we've talked about, but I think in the end, it seems like we're thinking that it's worth following up on to try to iron out some of these wrinkles and get a better read on what this could actually do.
I think if we think about it more as a service we offer to people who understand the benefits, then that's good. The mandatory gets, all this stuff. But I think the service is what, basically it's an upgrade of the PRC situation of helping, telling people they can come in and get help. And maybe even so much as, well, you better get your plan reviewed. Although often we look at the plan and the plan needs to change before the review is going to, the review is going to get done some more after the plan. But anyway, okay.
Yep.
Okay?
This covers part of what the development team does. A lot of the development team is sort of meeting with applicants or potential applicants to discuss the kinds of things that well, what could we do? Yeah. So that's a good part of that work is basically before a decision is even made to file an application. The applicant is getting some information. Part of that may be getting into, well, here's what we want to do. Let's get some advice on we want to do this. Let's get some advice on how to do it. Once an application is submitted, staff reviews the application in a lot of detail. Some of that review could be taken by this review team prior to formally submitting an application, so that
it could be part of what the board looks at. I think we mentioned that the last time, where it's a write up, like a form that's a check, meets all of this criteria, has spoken to the fire chief, whatever, pick your situation, and then that could be used as part of the review process by the board, so you don't have to say, did we check and make sure that this minimum requirement was met?
Yeah, so certainly one of the outputs of this review committee is the kind of detailed evaluation of the application that we see from staff now. I mean, that would, whenever that work takes place, it ends up coming to our attention. Yeah, that wouldn't change.
They're going to review and make suggestions, and then what gets to us, it's going to be changed, and it's going to need to be looked at again. And so, but okay, I think we've beaten it up pretty well.
I think the horse is pretty dead right now.
Quite.
I wouldn't say the horse is dead, but
I think there's,
he's definitely
the more.
bruised.
I think Grafton's attitude now for quite a while has been do everything we can to help people,
right?
Help promote development, and okay, that's our direction. In the interest of avoiding a vote on item 8,
there's a motion on the floor.
We do have a motion.
Motion and second on the
I
floor.
voted for, and I moved, and you seconded.
Yep.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
You did.
No, I said no second.
Oh,
that's correct.
There was no second.
So just take it as an informal
Damn
consensus
it, Bob!
of the board.
You were listening.
What?
I thought you said second, so I was wrong.
No. It was. I heard. I waited, and there was no second.
Okay.
Can I move that?
But that is a debatable question. If we get, never mind.
Can I move that we authorize payment of the bills?
Second.
As soon as I get to it, which is the next item 4A, bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Previous meeting minutes.
We have none.
Staff report.
I'm gonna be really quick. So we're closing up the Wi-Fi hotspots project. I've been talking about that quite a bit. Comtract has been out and tested them at the 3 park locations. We have a project page that's up. We're still working through some kinks. We want to follow up about some concerns that were raised by the IT committee, just about privacy and firewall and, the associated disclaimers and what have you are in place. So I am working with Comtract on that this week. And we should get some answers. But it shouldn't be a concern because I did talk to them on the phone today and they said CMD is will be able to assure us, but there should be all the associated protections.
It's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. The Grafton Common traffic study is kind of taking up my focus, as well as I met with the Affordable Housing Trust the other night about some work that we're doing with MHP for the feasibility study. Just lots of meetings, a lot of people inquiring about development potential, a lot of kind of TA being provided in my office. I think, just preparing for meetings and just trying to stay on top of things. We have a couple of outstanding projects with CMRPC that I would like to get rolling, back in earnest, I suppose. We started and kind of took a little bit of a break. Summer's kind of tough because everyone's got crazy schedules, but, I'm happy to answer any questions or work on anything specifically I know we didn't cover.
Do you have any update on when Brian Fitzgerald's gonna submit?
He came back before development team meeting last week. He's got a little bit more work to do. It's kind of a funky situation because his permitting pathway is going to be odd. He's got to ask for a few different, there's a lot of different uses that are going to be going on, and we were able to finalize a permitting pathway for him, but he just has to get his paperwork ready to go. But there's a protected use, I will say, in the rear, which would only be a site plan. But then there's special permit uses in the front property. We're just kind of working through and making sure with council that everything is following up. But he is going to file soon. He was wrapped up with conservation for an RDA. I think he's got to file a notice of intent with them. So I think he's doing that prior to filing with the board for his permits. And he's going to, another issue that he is trying to work through is he's going to need a special permit for shared parking. So just making sure, I told him, you need to make sure that you have all of those logistics in a row to make sure that shared parking is going to work. So he's working on it.
Which site is this?
215 Worcester Street and 1 Hawthorne. Yeah. But he's been in and he's very communicative. He's been reaching out to the neighbors. People are in the know about what's in the neighborhood. Know what's going on. And, we're happy to see something moving, but just don't know when exactly he's going to file. But it's coming.
We've been waiting years for something to happen up there.
Yeah. Yep. I think be happy with it'll be a significant change anyway, but based on the current conditions. So.
And Jack's job posted?
Yes, it's posted, and we're starting interviews. We've picked 5 candidates.
Excellent.
So those are scheduled. Yes, we are very excited to start.
Yes.
Get that third person
Excellent.
in there. Yeah.
That it?
Yes.
Correspondence? I don't think I saw anything we need to.
Nothing caught my eye.
All righty. In that case, CMRPC and committees. This one, reports from planning board reps.
I have nothing.
Anybody have anything? If not, I don't believe there's anything else that can lawfully come before us.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, not debatable, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted, we're out of here.
Thank you.
Well, it was before